Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I want to have a look at Rune, Thorchain, but before I do, I first want to thank today's sponsor, FairDesk. Now, FairDesk is an exchange, and if you're interested, you can click the link in the description for a deposit bonus and my copy trade. I make a trade on all the alts I review, so if you don't want to miss that, go check it out. Now, getting straight back into Rune, we can see that this is the full graph that we have, the 4 years that Rune has been around and on the open market. We can see it started back in August of 2019. And it's now obviously October of 2023, so we've had about 4 years, which just about fits in with our 4-year cycle. And I do want to be taking a macro look at Rune, and this is why I have the graph in the logarithmic, which means it's measuring percentage moves up basically evenly instead of price moves. It just makes it easier to visualize things if you want to look at it long term, and it doesn't mean that, you know, wicks during the bull run make everything else tiny and very detailed so that we can't see it. It makes it very easy to see. But I'm also going to be looking at the short-term price action of Rune, what's been happening in the last few months, because it's very interesting. And in fact, if we zoom in, we can see that Rune basically back in August, beginning of August, had a really strong pump where it basically 2x'd. I mean, if we take the bottom here and bring it up to that top that it put in, it was a 118% move. You know, again, a 2x basically. So really strong from Rune, and this was off the back of some announcement that they said they were migrating all their funds, where before they were holding tokens. I think this is how it works. So if you sent BNB to Rune, to Thorchain, it would store that BNB and then create a ticker of BNB. So it would create like a fake token, like a receipt of BNB that you would trade, kind of how liquid staking works. But I think now they've actually found a way to move those actual assets onto Thorchain. I'm not quite sure. It could be the reverse. Anyway, it was very bullish news, and Thorchain doubled. And we can see it actually sort of, you know, once it put in this high, it sort of wicked back down below. We can see it didn't really spend much time above this sort of 175 resistance. It's actually 174, and it sort of lines up very well with this last local top here, before we had this big collapse. And, you know, it sort of stayed down below there. And I initially thought that this was going to be a sort of sell the news, big pump, big dump, and sort of returns back to where it is. But it's actually managed to hold up, which is extremely, I find, impressive, to be honest with you, considering we're in a bear market now. We're in the deepest depths of the bear market as well, I would say. A lot of altcoins are putting in all-time lows, like Avalanche. You know, Cardano is doing terribly. Solana's holding up well, which I'll make a video on soon. Probably XRP is doing good, but it's still doing poor. A lot of altcoins are not performing well at all. But Rune has been consistently up, you know, for the last basically 3 months. In fact, if we actually check how long this has been going on for, yeah, 77 days, so 2 months and a half basically. And it's well above its yearly open. And if we actually take a look, we can see that Rune was basically following what most altcoins were doing. It was, you know, had its pump at the beginning of the year, the sort of January rally, which all of crypto saw. Bitcoin, you know, went from like 18k to 30k, had a big pump everywhere. And then Rune dropped off, like we saw with a lot of alts, sort of wicked, tested its yearly open, came above. This didn't play out the same way with all alts, but it's basically like a cookie cutter of what happened. We saw a pump, a dump, a pump, and then a dump, and we actually went well above, below our yearly open, and went so low as like 70, 80 cents, which is like, you know, super low. It was basically following the same trajectory as the rest of the crypto market. We saw a lot of altcoins also were putting in lows at this time. A lot of altcoins, again, Avalanche, Cardano, Matic, all these coins were below their yearly open at a similar time. And I'm sure that a lot of them also pumped during this range where Thorchain did. But instead of Thorchain just continuing to collapse, like if we draw a very dodgy line here, just very rough and ready, we can see that Thorchain was basically following this pattern. You could even go something like this, or you can move that line however you want. It was going down basically. It spent months going down. And going down hard, like, you know, you were seeing sell-offs of, you know, 20% over a few days. Again, over here, down 25%. We were seeing big sell-offs, but out of nowhere, Rune just explodes and manages to stay above. It's been above its bull market support band for basically 2 months now. Yeah, over 2 months it's been above, which is very bullish. We can see like basically ever since 2021, it's very rarely spent more than 2 months above the bull market support band. And actually, to be honest with you, it kind of hasn't. I mean, very rarely. It's usually gone for a month. It's usually wicked up for a month. And this was in like end of 2021 as well. It would wick up for a month and then sort of dip down below. 2022, wick up for a month, dip down below. You know, so basically it was only up like when it launched. It launched into a bull run, basically, before a bull run. So it caught all the gains going up, where it stayed in its sort of bull run cycle. And then ever since mid 2021, where a lot of altcoins put in their tops, Thorchain has been going down, which is normal. But it has finally broken above its bull market support band, and it's done so for a period of time that's longer than basically what we've seen before. So that would be sort of your bullish case for Thor now, if you think, or Rune, sorry, if you think that, well, it's spent longer than it has this bear run above this support band. I think it could be basically pulling off what it does here, because this is around the similar time. 2019 is basically equivalent to 2023 in terms of where we are in the cycle for Bitcoin's halving, if you believe in the 4-year cycle. We're basically where we are here. And we can see here we had a big sell-off in September, whereas Rune had a big pump the month before in August and sort of just floated around at that range. So if we're looking at, you know, what will potentially happen based on what happened last cycle, Rune will have a big, you know, huge pump here of about 500%, you know. Now whether that happens or not, I don't know. Again, this market was a lot different compared to what we have now, where crypto is a lot more mainstream. It's not mainstream, but you know, it's being spoken about in Congress in America, and it's definitely a different market, a lot more money in the system. But again, Bitcoin's doing well at the moment, and it's sort of going against the whole up for 2 months, down for 2 months during the pre-halving year. It's kind of been going up for 2 months. It's gone down for 1 month, but it looks like, sorry, not month, I meant to say quarter. Going up for 2 quarters, down for 2 quarters. It's gone up for 2 quarters. It's gone down for 1 quarter, but it looks like we could be putting in another up for the final quarter of 2023. And it looks like Rune could be following that sort of move. Now, whether there's a big sell-off soon, I have no clue. A bearish case for Rune is that basically these sort of moves here that we've seen are basically the same thing. And they played out the same, where we had these big pumps of, you know, 200, 300%, you know, where we get a big, whatever, big strong move anyway. We pump up and then we spend a bit of time in this range. We spend roughly 2 months floating about after we've put in our top, and then we dump. Now that does kind of play out to where we are, but we would have to expect a crash pretty soon if it was going to play out these ways. And they're all basically very similar in terms of how long they've gone on for and the price moves they've made. I mean, if you even want to look at this one as an example, it's not half as impressive as the one we're currently going through, but 50% pump, stays there for about a month and a half and then drops. Maybe this is just to a grander scale. We have double the pump, double the length, double the drop. Who knows? Who really knows, to be honest with you? It's very difficult to say. All we know for sure is that what's happened in the past has happened. It's currently at a resistance, or you could say a support now, as technically it's above it, but it's currently at this resistance of this peak from April this year. Its next resistance is this peak from February, where we, you know, most altcoins in the crypto market put in sort of their, you know, highs of this year anyway, since year to date. A lot of altcoins, this was the high, not for Rune, because it did recently put in a new yearly high of about $2.20. It really just depends on how you feel about the general crypto space. If Bitcoin continues to do well, I'm sure Rune will, to be honest with you. However, there's not... I find it very hard to see what's propping up Rune. I kind of feel like there has to be some whale buying up a huge amount, or some sort of, I don't want to say manipulation, but I kind of do want to say manipulation, where it's just not letting it drop below this price. But I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. This could just be natural. Again, there are altcoins that often do well during the bear run, and Rune could well be one of them. Even though, I mean, you know, its high was $22. It is currently below $2, so it's not really doing great in terms of, you know, macro price performance. But last few months, again, very strong. Very impressed with Rune. It's done very well. Where do I think it will end up? Again, sort of reiterating what I said, it all kind of depends on what you think Bitcoin will do, in my opinion. We're above this level. It could easily drop down below this level and then plummet back to the dollar, below a dollar range. It could easily bounce off this level and retest this one, retest this one. There's not much stopping it from going either way. If you were really wanting to put a lot of work into figuring out, I would take a look at trading volume and sort of see if Rune is actually getting a lot of use. I do think it will get a lot of use in the bull run. I would be very bullish long term on Rune. And you see, like, you know, even during the bull run, we saw Rune had multiple wicks back up to the upside. It was bullish for a very long time. And you do see this with a lot of DeFi exchanges, like Uniswap basically paints the same picture here, where all these sort of decentralized exchanges wicked up during this time and performed very well. I expect Rune to do very well as well, because I think people will want to trade their crypto, and Rune offers that for as cheap as it can through a non-centralized way. So yeah, definitely bullish long term, but short term, I don't know. We could come back here. It again kind of depends on what you think will happen in the general crypto space. We did have a death cross on the BTC USD chart as well, which often indicates a short-term pump and then longer-term poor price action. So we have had that pump with Bitcoin. We're now waiting to see if this poor price action longer term will play out. But again, that's kind of just something that we have to wait and see. Nobody really knows. And if someone does say that they know, they're lying to you. Don't listen to them. Looking at Rune on its Bitcoin pair, kind of paints a very similar story. The chart looks very similar, to be honest with you. You can see that, like, when Rune launched, it basically launched at the perfect time, sort of into the preparation of a bull run, and it just gained value on BTC this whole time, well above its bull market support band. During 2021, we can see it struggled with its bull market support band on the Bitcoin pair, very much like its USD pair. And again, it's put in these exact same moves that we see on its USD, very sort of parallel, adjacent charts, the Bitcoin and USD. And then we can see, like, since 2021, it has been going down on its Bitcoin pair, like it has on its USD pair, until, of course, August this year, where it rallied back up again. And again, it's the same sort of story. We're now currently at these April level highs where we are now, where this Fibonacci lines up perfectly with. We came back and tested the yearly opens, you know, which is what we're kind of doing now. This Fibonacci is a bit higher on the Bitcoin pair, but it doesn't need to line up perfectly. This 0.78 basically lines up perfectly with it. And for the last few weeks, we have been in a downward on the Bitcoin pair. And we've had this little rally up, and we've broken above the 0.5 level. But again, whether that plays out or not, who knows? Like, you could easily move this line here like this and say, oh, well, we've broken this resistance, so now we're bullish again. It's kind of however you want to put it. It does look a bit like this one, in a sense. Very sort of similar harsh declines that were broken through. And we can see we actually, when we broke through this line, we wicked back up to the top here. We broke through at very similar prices, and we've seen similar price action. Make of that what you will. It's still above its bull market support band. However, on its Bitcoin pair, it has dipped slightly below, not below, into the bull market support band. So a little more bearish on the Bitcoin pair, but that's, to be honest, it's kind of to be expected. Again, during sort of bear runs, Bitcoin does usually outperform, or it does outperform the general altcoin market. But again, there are always altcoins that outperform Bitcoin, and they're, you know, they're rare. And So Rune could very well be one of these altcoins. It's hard for me to say. It's sort of something that we'll have to look back on in a few months and sort of analyze, like we have done here with these prices and this pump. Again, long term on Rune Bitcoin, very bullish. I think we're sort of getting to the time where a lot of altcoins are putting in their lows. Like again, Avalanche, Chainlink, LTC, all these coins that are putting in either all-time lows or cycle lows. I think it's a good time to be maybe putting some of your money into the altcoin space, not altcoin space, into the crypto space in general. To be honest with you, I think stuff is on a good discount. It's just whether some of these coins come back. I think cryptos like Uniswap and Thorchain and 1inch, all these other PancakeSwap, I think these do get use during the bull run, which kind of for me creates a level of security in that they will be used, so price will eventually go back up. I feel like with a lot of altcoins there's never a guarantee. Like, altcoins can do well one bull run, and then they'll disappear and they'll never come back. Like coins like Dash, coins that you will have never heard of. If this is your first sort of bear run, bull run, if you've been in crypto for only 1 or 2 years, there's 1,000 cryptocurrencies that were once second, third, fourth, fifth market cap that you've never heard of, and they've just faded and disappeared. It is a very real possibility. Now, I'm not saying that will happen to Rune. I'm saying I feel like it's less likely to happen to Rune because it's one of these coins that relies on the general crypto space instead of just a single altcoin, which for me makes it feel a lot safer, because if ADA disappears and goes to zero, Rune will still provide a service. If 10 altcoins go to zero, Rune will still provide a service. You'll still be able to swap BNB and Solana and all these other coins on Rune. So for me, it's kind of like an index in a way, in my opinion. But that's sort of getting off topic here. You can see also I've drawn this this support line here where Thorchain sort of visited at the beginning of this year. Sorry, not the beginning of this year, mid this year, a few months back, and then bounced off and of course stayed well above. But whether we're on our way back down, I don't know. Again, we've sort of retested these highs and we're coming back down. Whether we spend the rest of the year sort of in between this 0.61 and 0.38 level, who knows? Again, it's kind of something we're gonna have to let play out. I think I've said just about everything that I wanted to say in this video. So if you found it useful, please subscribe. And if you liked it, leave a like. Comment down below where you think Rune is headed, if you're holding it, if you sold it, if you're buying now. Let me know. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Take care and peace.